Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Fari Bukhari from Pakistan Party. Today I want to talk about a few things that are happening pretty fast in our background. A few days ago, just around the corner, we saw the Manchester attack. Then we saw the Kabul attack. And now the London Bridge attack. What is going on here? The last century of this world has been spent bearing the carnage of wars that have engulfed millions of civilian lives. This includes wars of terrorism and wars against terrorism. Motives behind these wars have ranged from dehumanization to regional control to corporate interests. Most of us know the truth, but when a mainstream media outlet narrates its sponsored hate rhetoric against Islam, I see hypnotized heads nodding their heads. There's a huge media campaign launched against Saudi Arabia in the aftermath of this attack. There's also another strong lobby asking for complete ban of Muslims. Theresa May is receiving favorable polls over her tough stance against terrorism. 99% of masses are calling the killers of these attacks Islamic terrorists, even when 99% of the global Islamic scholars have unanimously certified that these terrorists are not Muslims and this action is not justified by Islamic teachings. We know that 99% of mainstream media is owned by a handful of billionaires working for a very profitable military-industrial complex. But we still allow these advertising campaigns of wars, and more wars for war profits to remain unchecked. We do not check their money trails. We do not interrogate their undercover deals. We know they exist, but we fail to do anything about them. We allow this propaganda to continue to reap profits from producing hate against Muslims, mentally harassing 2 billion residents of this global village. Muslims today are so petrified that they would automatically release statements of condemnation even before it is even found if the culprit who claimed to have done it did so in the name of Islam. A large majority of worldwide Islamic scholars, I repeat, have unanimously condemned actions of all terrorist organizations. Pakistan's top Islamic scholars met just the other day to shun such atrocities, but this never, ever becomes the headline news. When Muslim doctors run to rescue the victims of the Manchester attack, no one wants to talk about this on mainstream media. No one wants to discuss the Muslim heroes who saved lives on the 9/11 attack. Because the media wants all guns to point at Muslims and Islam, to incite crusades against Muslims, to promote invasions in Muslim countries, to propagate another war, to sell more weapons, to accelerate more displacement, division, and destruction of civilizations. The reality is that there is no such element as radical Islam, because Islam was born 1400 years ago, and we are seeing radicalization happen just around the corner of the last century. So when we see social media and mainstream media on paychecks of profiteering lobbies of military-industrial complex and on sponsorships of Islamophobe cult groups continuing with the same old hateful narrative, we always find a large audience listening to this narrative. So whether it's an election campaign that reaps benefits from such acts of terror, or some military contractors, we see the media and some leaders use these attacks as a golden opportunity to make world peace become even more impossible to achieve. What I fail to understand is the total desensitization of the masses to this repetitive pattern of mass destruction. Facts cannot lie. Muslims all over the world have been the biggest victims of terrorism from the same groups that orchestrate these attacks in non-Muslim countries. Our enemies are the same. But humanity fails to acknowledge this very important fact when it profiles 2 billion followers of Islam as potential accomplices in crime, demanding for bans, demanding for sanctions, demanding for isolation, demanding for invasions. Humanity fails to grasp the extreme importance of reacting to such malicious games. Humanity's silence consents to more bigotry and thus to more planted attacks to incite even more wars. And thus the vicious cycle continues. You do not need rocket science to stop this vicious cycle. All you need is your conscience. You do not need a Messiah to do this for you. All you need is you. Stop waiting for United Nations or Human Rights Watch or Amnesty International to do this for you, because they have been consistently failing to achieve peace for you for the last many years. United Nations has its own financial conflict of interest, so peacemaking gets affected in the process. But what about you? What is your conflict of interest? You are a human, you have a conscience, you don't want any more civilians to die in their dirty money and power games. So why aren't you taking legal and political action against these paid propaganda booths stationed in every household that actually play a pivotal role in proliferating wars and destruction and crusades? Unfortunately, we're still living in the medieval ages. Thank you.